Hello everyone, welcome to this YouTube channel. Today we will be talking about part 3 of the Constitution, which is the fundamental rights. So basically हमने अभी तक जो कवर किया है, अभी तक we have talked about the preamble to the Constitution, which is sort of an introduction to the Constitution as to what entails in the entire Constitution, Indian Constitution. Part 1 of the Constitution is Union and its territory, where we talk about कि इंडिया के यूनियन में, इंडिया की टेरिटरी में कौन कौन से यूनियन एंड स्टेट्स हैं एंड हाउ न्यू स्टेट्स कैन बी एडेड और न्यू स्टेट्स कैन बी एलिमिनेटेड फ्रॉम द एग्जिस्टिंग टेरिटरी एंड सो ऑन एंड सो फोर्थ. Part 2 of the Constitution में we have talked about citizenship, which is about how anyone can become an Indian citizen, who is an Indian citizen, who is not an Indian citizen, what are the various laws by which Indian citizenship can be terminated, or it can be, or we can have it. So this is what it talks about. Part 3 of the Constitution, जो कि हम अभी बात करेंगे. So this Part 3 of the Constitution, fundamental rights, covers articles 12 to article 35. So I will briefly talk about what these articles are. Article 12 talks about the definition of the state. कि basically state क्या है, जो which will be talked about in the various fundamental rights. The word state is mentioned, so they define it. Article 13 talks about those laws which are inconsistent or which are derogatory to the fundamental rights. That is, any such laws जो कि fundamental rights को fundamental rights के against है. So that is covered in Article 13. Articles 14 to 18 talk about the right to equality. 19 to 22 articles talk about the right to freedom. Articles 23 and 24 talk about right against exploitation. Articles 25 to 28 talk about right to freedom of religion. 29 and 30 talk about educational and cultural rights. Article 32 talks about the right to constitutional remedies, and miscellaneous are covered in Article 33 to 35. Now, this is just the name of the articles. Now, we will talk in detail about the various fundamental rights as covered in this part. First of all, let's talk about Article 12 and 13. Article 12, like I said, is the definition of the state. इसमें ये बताया गया है कि state किस किस को कह सकते हैं. So, state could be anything. It could be the government of India or the Parliament of India. It could be the government of the state or the legislature of each of the states, and all the local or other authorities within the territory of India or under the control of the government of India. So basically I would want to tell here कि Article 12 में जो state को define किया गया है, वो कोई भी ऐसी body, government body ही होगी, कोई भी ऐसी body होगी जिसमें जो किसी भी person की fundamental rights को affect करती है. For example, it could be any पंचायती राज institution also, जो कि किसी भी बंदे की, किसी भी पर्सन की फंडामेंटल राइट्स को समहाउ अफेक्ट करती है, जैसे राइट टू इक्वालिटी, अनफेयर ट्रीटमेंट करती है. सो एनीबडी हु हैज दैट पावर, एनी बॉडी हु हैज दैट पावर टू अफेक्ट द फंडामेंटल राइट ऑफ एनी पर्सन is covered under Article 12 as the definition of the state. Moving on to Article 13. So Article 13 is basically talking about those laws जो कि various fundamental rights के साथ inconsistent है. So Article 13 says कि कोई भी law जो कि Parliament बनाती है या which is made by any of the state legislatures, those laws which are inconsistent with the provisions of this part, they will be considered void. That is, they will not be considered as laws, क्योंकि वो किसी की भी फंडामेंटल राइट्स को एडवर्सली अफेक्ट करती है, इनकंसिस्टेंट है विद दिस पार्ट ऑफ द कॉन्स्टिट्यूशन. एंड द सेकेंड पार्ट ऑफ द 13th आर्टिकल सेज दैट द स्टेट शैल नॉट मेक एनी लॉ विच टेक्स अवे और अब्रिजेस the rights conferred by this part, and any law made in contravention of this clause shall, to the extent of the contravention, be void. It means कि स्टेट, यहाँ पे स्टेट लेजिस्लेचर हो गया, स्टेट पार्लियामेंट हो गया, कि वो कोई भी ऐसा लॉ नहीं बनाएगी जिससे फंडामेंटल राइट्स आर टेकन अवे और अब्रिज हो जाते हैं लोगों के, एंड अगर कोई ऐसा लॉ बनता भी है विच इज इन कॉन्ट्रावेंशन टू दिस क्लॉज, दैट विल बी कंसिडर्ड null and void. And by law, we do not just mean laws of the parliament or the state legislature. It could be any ordinance जो कि executive pass करती है. It could be any order by any organization, the government organization. It could be any bylaw, any rule, regulation, notification, custom or usage having in the territory of India the force of law. जिसका कोई ऐसा legal implication है, that will not be considered a law if it is in contravention to the provisions of the constitution, of this part of the constitution. Moving on, we talk about right to equality, which is covered under articles 14 to 18. हम इसके बारे में briefly बात करते हैं about all the articles. Article 14 says that the state shall not deny to any person equality before law or equal protection of the laws within the territory of India. Article 14 covers two parts basically. One is equality before the law, that is every person will be considered equal before the law. अगर एक particular law की बात करते हैं हम, suppose any law we can talk about, suppose the Indian Penal Code या कोई भी law, अगर दो person similar circumstances में placed है तो इस particular law को equally apply करेंगे उन दोनों persons पे, so those two people will be equal. So that is the equality before law. And then equal protection of laws, it means that every law will be considered equal. ऐसा नहीं है कि in a particular circumstance the law of murder will be given more importance than the law of rape. Or this is just a very crude example. We can talk about other examples जहाँ पे एक particular situation में एक particular person पे two laws अप्लाई होते हैं, तो ऐसा नहीं है कि एक लॉ को ज्यादा वेटेज दिया जाएगा. नो, बोथ दीज लॉज विल बी इक्वली प्रोटेक्टेड विद इन द टेरिटरी ऑफ इंडिया. सो दैट इज आर्टिकल 14. Article 15 talks about that the state shall not discriminate against any citizen on grounds only of religion, race, caste, sex, place of birth or any of them. कोई discrimination नहीं होगी, state नहीं करेगा. And state, again, the definition of state is given in Article 12. It will be all the government bodies. कोई discrimination नहीं करेंगे in grounds पे, religion, race, caste, sex, place of birth पे कोई distinction नहीं होगी. Second part of Article 15 says that on the grounds of religion, race, caste, sex, place of birth or any of them, no person shall be subject to any liability, disability, restriction with regard to access to shops, public restaurants, hotels and places of public entertainment. What this means is अगर कोई भी public place है तो इन grounds पे distinction नहीं होगी, कोई और ground पे distinction हो सकती है. So in any shop, any public restaurant, nobody will be discriminated against. ऐसा नहीं बोल सकते कि आपका religion ये है और आपकी race ये है, that is why you are not allowed in this restaurant. There could be other grounds जिसकी वजह से distinction हो सकती है. For example, age हो सकती है कि particular इस age से below बच्चे नहीं आ सकते इस particular restaurant में, bar में, right? But on these grounds there will not be any restriction. The use of wells, tanks, bathing ghats, roads and places of public transport maintained wholly or partly out of state funds or dedicated to the use of the general public, in places पे, in grounds पे distinction नहीं हो सकती, discrimination नहीं हो सकती. This is Article 15 Part 2. However, Part 3 of Article 15 says that nothing in this article shall prevent the state from making any special provision for women and children. However, वो बोलते हैं कि स्टेट फिर भी ऐसे लॉज ला सकती है जिससे स्पेशल प्रोविजन विमेन और चिल्ड्रन के लिए हो सकता है. दैट इज उनकी अपलिफ्टमेंट के लिए स्टेट कैन ब्रिंग अप लॉज. हाउएवर, एडवर्सली डिस्क्रिमिनेट नहीं करना, ऐसा नहीं बोलना कि चिल्ड्रन और विमेन को ये फैसिलिटी, सुविधा नहीं मिलेगी, लेकिन फॉर देयर बेटरमेंट, फॉर देयर अपलिफ्टमेंट, द स्टेट कैन मेक स्पेशल प्रोविजन. सो दिस इज द एक्सेप्शन टू आर्टिकल 15. ऑल्सो द फोर्थ पार्ट टॉक्स अबाउट that the state can make special provision for the advancement of any socially and educationally backward classes of citizens or for the scheduled caste and scheduled tribes. So ऐसे citizens of the society which have been discriminated against, शुरू से लेके आज तक जिनके साथ discrimination हुई है और जिनकी upliftment के लिए जरूरत है, for them the state can definitely make such laws और such special provisions कि इनको betterment मिले. So this is another exception to Article 15. Moving on, talking about Article 16 says that equality of opportunity मिलेगी सारे citizens को in matters relating to employment or appointment to any office under the state. That is, कोई भी दो citizens जिनकी qualification, जिनकी eligibility same है, उनको equality of opportunity मिलेगी. And there will be no discrimination only on the ground of religion, race, caste, sex, descent or place of birth or residence, ताकि वो ineligible हो जाए with respect to employment or office under the state. इसमें एक exception आ जाती है that place of residence is sometimes considered important, but otherwise the state cannot discriminate on these grounds for employment. But of course other grounds पे discrimination होती है, for example age, for example qualification, जो होनी भी चाहिए. Then it talks about the same thing, that the state has the power, the state is given this exemption that they can make special provision for or reservations जिनको हम बोलते हैं in favor of backward class of citizens or for SCs or STs who actually require upliftment in the society. Moving on from Article 16, we come to Article 17. Article 17 completely ban करता है untouchability को, कि you are not touching a person or a person is considered untouchable because of any ground, so that is abolished and its practice in any form is forbidden. It is considered a crime. It is a punishable offence in accordance with the law. Therefore, untouchability is eliminated or abolished in our country. If you like this content, like, share and subscribe, and see you in the next episode.